Hey, what's up, everybody? Let's see if everything's working. You know my streams, there's always something that happens at the beginning. Okay, I think we're live. Hey, what's up, everybody? All right, cool. Let's unbox this sucker. That's just bubble wrap. Came with a power supply. Okay. There's tape on this, so I gotta tear the bag up. I usually like keeping things nice. So let me adjust my camera real quick. Okay. Oh, this is very, very cool. A clear shell. A and B buttons, but also turbo. This is nice. This is very nice. It's a nice new controller. All right, let's open the console itself. And I'm gonna demo the console and then we'll open it up afterwards because the last time I opened one of these, I couldn't get it back together properly. So I don't wanna screw this up because this thing's pretty cool. All right. Now, I believe on the website you could buy them in red or blue. I used the blue picture just to differentiate it from the last one of these that I tested, but they sent a red one. I am just borrowing this, so for whatever new stupid YouTube regulations, I'll disclose that this was not given to me, this was lent to me. So it looks like it has composite video and audio out. This is a Saturn DIN. That offers RGB, composite, and S-video. I imagine only one composite at a time, but I mean, with all of these outputs, why would you want two composites at the same time? And HDMI out. All right. Hey, what's up, Belmont? Got rained out today. Oh man, there was people doing a driveway on my street, and they started at like 7 a.m. and from 9:30 to like 1, it poured yesterday. I felt so bad for him. Glad that's not you today. What's up, Billy? Dylan? Winter Hell, when you buy bubble wrap on eBay, is it protected in bubble wrap? No, but it's often put in a thin cardboard box and shipped to you, which is kind of funny to me. Mark, what a nice surprise on my day off. Time to grab a beer. Yeah, it's a bit early for me, but I will be having a beer this afternoon. Hey, Fenris, how's it going? All right, so let me grab an EverDrive and an original cart. Actually, let me grab 2 original carts. I have a very cheap copy of Tetris that I always use first, just in case. I've never had any problems, but what if something happened in shipping and something got shorted? I'd rather blow out just a generic cart that I could replace easily. I'm also gonna just start out with it on this HDMI monitor. I will plug it in to the capture card basically immediately. I just think for the initial power on and testing, let's just make sure it works. And I always forget in these streams, this is a 1080 by 1200 monitor. So if you see, when I turn the camera, if you see space on the top and bottom, that's why. I can't tell you how many times I forgot that and I've gone, how come 1080p over isn't working? And then, oh, it is. All right, so let me reposition the camera real quick. All right. Hey, Papa Rick, how's it going? All right, so let's power this on and see what happens. Immediately get a signal. It's very bright in here. I don't see any LED power lights on this thing. Okay, so there are some commands I could hit in order to get this thing running. I posted them in the description, so let me reference these. So what is this exactly? It's another one of these from scratch Famicoms. So the motherboard is built from scratch. I believe the CPU and PPU are either original or clones, but essentially it's an official Famicom, but with HDMI RGB out and all that stuff. And of course we're going to lag test it. So let's so this is all working. So let me reference here. To change modes, hold down the select and start buttons of the one-player controller for about 5 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then hit up to change color palette. Oh, cool. Isn't it funny? I'm not sure if it's coming out in this video, but the massive color differences in blue. Like, watch now. That's pretty funny. All right. So same thing. Let me go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I wasn't in it. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we have it back to 4x3 mode. Press the down key to toggle scan lines. So this is toggling between nothing, 25%, 50%, and 75%. And they look pretty good. I mean, they're just horizontal scan lines, but you know, they work, so whatever. And then press B to view the firmware version, Lava FC version 1.2. And it would be left in order to, oh, I guess I have to hold it or hit the button again to remove that. I could hit the left button if I wanted to upgrade the firmware. So, okay. So let me very, very quickly, before I plug it in, just do a quick oh, I forgot this version of Tetris. I forgot this is you move the pieces with down and A is drop. Well, that's just stupid. Okay, so we see this is all working. Everything's fine. Let's power it off. I'm going to power it back on just to see if the settings persisted, and then I'm going to plug it into... Actually, do you want to just do lag testing first? I mean, it's RetroRGB. Why not, right? Okay, so the settings don't persist. All right, so that's something that I'm going to make a note in order to... I'll make a note to see if the team could add that. The other question I'll just ask right off the bat, which I forgot to ask, is can people add their own palettes somehow? All right, let's see. Fenris, you know, that's a matter of opinion. It doesn't bother me to use the controller to switch modes. But let's see if it works with an EverDrive plugged in, actually. So that's a good point. Let me test that next. What's up, EW? The purchase link is dead? That's... Oh, I did spell... Purchase link's working for me. Anybody else want to click on it? It should go to the Retro Castle AliExpress store, and then you should scroll down and see it on the bottom. Somebody else could double check that for me. That would be very cool. So the FPGA that they're using for this won't be able to support a full on-screen menu like that. This is a cost savings thing. All right, so that eject button, can you still see this? Let me So this eject button is for show. It doesn't do anything. You just got to pull the cartridge out. Let me try this with an EverDrive. Thank you for checking the links. I'm not sure what was up with that. Trollbot, aren't these consoles meant to be played in composite? I mean, if you say that, then aren't old TV shows only meant to be watched on CRTs? It's just, that's one of those statements that I just don't agree with at all. Now that said, they look amazing in composite on a CRT, which we're definitely going to show in a couple minutes, but I think meant to is too strong of an opinion on that. All right, so we have real Tetris loading. Let me, the key commands still worked. Yeah, all right, real Tetris. Down makes the part go down. Who would have thought? Who do you think at that other version of Tetris thought that would be a good idea? Hey, you know what would be awesome? Why don't we change the controls so down moves the piece on screen? Well, wouldn't you want down to move the piece down? No, people don't want that. People want down to move the piece, and then you have to press a button to have the, like, who thinks that? All right, but seems to play fine. So, and all of the, so let's like, holding down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Scan lines, all of the on-screen stuff, everything still works fine. So the fact that it still works, I'm holding reset, it didn't crash. Just to point that out. The fact that it still works regardless of, oh, that's weird. I don't know, maybe I spoke too soon. That might have just been a freak thing. I'm actually going to leave it widescreen for this, and you'll see why in a moment. So, okay. And then let me plug in my CRT and test that way. Actually, I need to move a couple of CRTs around to get to this one, so I will be a second, but plug this sucker in. So I currently have an S-video cable already connected to this one via the mister that I have. Actually, a Retro Castle mister. So I'm just going to use that to start us out. Okay. All right, let's pull this back slowly so I don't knock anything over. That worked surprisingly well. All right, I'm gonna set to manual focus, and we're gonna make sure we can see the CRT. Bro3256, thank you for educating me on this one. I'll go back in the chat in a second, but let me read this first. So the reason FC Tetris is controlled that way is due to that version is actually a port of BPS previous Japanese computer ports, and the keyboard controls are literally mapped to the controller one-to-one. That is a perfectly good explanation. Thank you very much for clearing that up. Mark Curtis, I will do a teardown at the end in case I can't reassemble it like I did last time. Nima Moshiri, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the support. All right, let's see. All right, if I miss a question, I'm going to try real hard to keep up with the chat, but if I miss a question or anything like that, please just keep asking and I'll get to it. All right, so I'm going to hit record here. And we're going to just record a couple of seconds of this. And stop. And I will switch patterns so we all don't have a seizure by staring at that thing. No, not. There we go. I could leave smooth motion on the screen. It is funny how different the colors look on this, though. Actually, let me, how does this compare to the AVS? The AVS is 100% FPGA, and this has real CPU and PPU or clone CPU and PPU. So how does it actually compare in real life? This has analog video outputs. That would be the very big difference. But other than that, it could be about the same. Press up to switch the color palette. All right, so let's, yeah, that's actually much closer. That's pretty funny. All right, well, while we're watching Green Hill Zone spin, I am going to take this 60 frame per second video I just recorded and check the latency. Which I will very obviously be showing on screen as soon as I can tell you the answer. So we have measured this panel at about half a frame of latency. Let me get a bunch of different shots in here. Okay, I think this one should perfectly sum up what it is that we're looking at. I'll double check a few more just to make sure it's not variable. Where are we here? Okay, so if you see, this is just a still shot. The flat panel, which has about half a frame of latency, probably a little bit more actually, when we measured this on stream a couple of times. It's at 924, just about in the 3s, and that's at 925, just about in the 5s. So that lines up. Let me see if I can get it to fit on screen here. So let me check a couple more of these, but that to me means that this thing does not have enough latency to worry about. The latency that you're seeing there is mostly on the flat panel. You could see in the number 24, the persistence of vision, the sample and hold, all that typical LCD image retention thing is there, whereas there's 0 of that on the CRT. So that's pretty cool. Funny, Winterhell said the TV is so dim in comparison. It's actually about the same. It's just the way LCD technology versus CRT photographs and the auto light compensation of the camera. Fenris, I don't have 10 grand to spend, but I would love a 10,000 frame per second camera. All right. Full Nelson Tecmo, they actually have an HDMI kit for the Genesis that's zero lag. I did a live stream of it if you want to search the channel. Martial Art, what's up, man? How you doing? Do I have any Famicom carts with expansion audio chips? Based on the specs, it uses a PCM 1808 ADC. Curious if they're using the cart audio path or doing anything more clever. Sir, do you mean something like that? All right, well, the brightness isn't going to compensate, but hopefully that's Castlevania. We will get to that very shortly. Let me just check some other video outputs, and we're going to go directly to audio testing next, and I'll connect HDMI directly to the PC. That's an excellent question. Let me just double check again. I'm flipping through this. The lag is staying consistent the entire time. So I'm not getting a different reading each time I do it. So if there is latency, it's a couple of lines, not a couple of frames. I think the latency I'm seeing is that of the flat panel itself. So we should be pretty good here. So now let's try, why don't we try composite video just for the hell of it. Let me flip that over, nope, flip that over to video 2. S video looked nice and sharp though. That was no complaints there. Get my Retro Castle Mister plugged back in over here. Okay. I am going to just grab some HD RetroVision cables because I always keep them handy and they're fully shielded, so why not? Here we go. That looks exactly what you would expect from composite video. No problems there. Window in the background, a CRT, and an LCD, a photographer's nightmare. Yeah, you nailed that, which is kind of the other reason why I just left the window in the background and everything, because there's no point. You know, when I do these shots for the fancier videos, something like this takes like an hour start to finish. From the time I'm like, let me get that shot to the time I'm done. And I've been doing this a long time, just trying to get everything to line up, trying to get the scanline beam to not be dark on the shot that you need it, it sucks to do that, but you know, it's worth it in the end. I think that's basically it. Fenris, we're talking about milliseconds. So if there is any latency from the console, if the latency, because the latency might just be all this panel, which is fine, nothing wrong with that, but if there is latency in the console, it would be a couple of milliseconds max. It would not be not even be a half a frame. So if you're a lag purist, then you would want to still use a CRT. Like if you're training for the Tetris World Championship, you don't leave anything up to chance, right? But if you're just a really good Tetris player, you should be able to just use a very fast LCD monitor. Good enough. Put this sucker back. I have a video coming up that I'll hopefully be able to get to in the next month or two about just HD CRTs and how they're different from regular CRTs. But in it, I'm going to show my new rolling rack setup, which I've just been absolutely loving. All right, so let me switch over. HDMI out. I'll put Tetris back just while we get things settled. And let me add this to the stream. And Jeff, audio is coming right now, as long as I get this set up properly. believe that audio kicked in pretty loud. I apologize. Sorry, everybody. Papa Rick, when am I entering the Tetris World Championship? Never. I could hold my own against your average player, but not at all against pros. Hollywood Bob. Thank you, Mr. Mega Man fan. Much appreciated. Fenris, I feel that 2 milliseconds is so insignificant that no one should have issue with it, as it's imperceptible to the human eye at that level. Yeah, I agree. Oh, Koi Fish, I'm sorry. I should have fixed that beforehand. My bad. Alright, well, I have that. Ah, crap. I'm sorry. Well, for my own sanity, for our, let's switch over now to the Castlevania music, and I'm going to have to do it with the correct aspect ratio, because it's me. So, what was that again for aspect? Right, okay. So the output on this thing, let me double check what the output actually is. I think it's 720p. It is. It's 720p. All right. Let me add that to the notes as well. All right, let's let me try this sucker out. I'm going to raise the volume, but not too much. I let that play with my microphone turned down for a while just to make sure. Hopefully this will be fine. Yeah, I wanted to put my voice down just so that you could hear how the audio sounds. Now I'm going to try the same game with an EverDrive. See if that'll make a difference. I don't know. But it seems like people are saying that the VRC6 expansion audio is too loud, but everything else actually sounds fine. So that could be, in fact, let me leave a note for them about that. Hey, Jacob Baker, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Jacob says, thank you for the VHS capture tutorial. Finally digitized my parents' wedding video. I'm really glad I was able to help. And yeah, I mean, I tried to get the point across in the video. Using a Tink isn't the most perfect solution for absolutely every single scenario, but I mean, it's so much better than a lot of others. So, yeah, I think for what you're doing, that's perfect. I think I turned scanlines on by accident. There we go. All right. Okay, I am going to turn my mic down and turn the game audio back up for a few. This is using an EverDrive now. All right, so it looks like, based on the chat, it says the balance is better. So what it seems like then is they did the mixing based on an EverDrive, which is fine. I just have to note that. Original EverDrive. So they might have to add another audio mode or something. What's the best output so far? HDMI, S-Video, RGB, or Composite? Well, that's a tricky question, because what if you have a RetroTink 4K? Then the best output would be either HDMI with decimation, or possibly even just going RGB and letting the Tink do everything. But I think in the scenario of somebody who wants to game on a CRT and stream, or who wants the option for both, this is great. Would you pick this up over the AVS? I mean, do you need to use NES and Famicom cartridges? I don't know. That's So does anybody want to hear anything else via the EverDrive? I only have 2 Famicom games, and I have Famicom to NES converters, but I don't have an NES to Famicom converter. So basically, if there's any other game-related thing you would like to see, please let me know, or if there's any other test you want. And if not, then I'm just going to switch back to the camera view and open this thing up to show you all what it looks like on the inside. But I'll give the chat a moment to chime in, because everything's already hooked up. So a Gimmick cart? No, Jeff, sorry, man. But I could play Gimmick via the EverDrive. This is the original EverDrive N8. This is not the N8 Pro, by the way. So let's go back to the EverDrive menu, and what was that? Let's try this one, and then I'll do Gimmick again. I don't think I've ever actually played this game. Yeah, Fenris, I had to sell off a whole bunch of stuff. I still got a few more things I got to sell as well. If you ever want to borrow one, Jeff, you know where to find me, my friend. Just hit me up and I'll send it right over. I'm trying to skip all this. Well, let's take this time to switch the color palettes then. Wow, what a difference. I would like to see the Kitrinks one in there. I like the Kitrinks and the Sony CXA ones, I think, the best in most cases. I don't have any of those either, Mr. Megafan. But you know what? I should put this through the Tink 4K as well, just for the hell of it real quick. Yeah, I don't have any idea what I'm doing. Do you all have enough sound examples from this one? Can I switch over to like Gimmick or something real quick? I'll grab my Tink while we're waiting. It's about $300 Guardian projects. Hey, Scruffy, how you doing? And this is obviously different than the other previous models that they used. A different motherboard design. It obviously has HDMI now as well, so all that's to take into consideration. All right, let's do Gimmick, and then I'm going to fire up a Tink. Jeff, that's very good. That's a very good chance that it doesn't do VRC7 properly. I don't think I know how to play this game, to be honest with you. If the volume really was down, I could play it again. At least get the opening for you. Would it make a difference if you had a modded CRT TV modded for RGB? Absolutely. You're going to get a lot more sharpness than you would Composite. Now, it's my personal opinion that Composite on a CRT looks excellent, but you're always going to look better or even less interference in many cases. So, all right, let's go back to that other one. Oh, I'll do that in a sec, Jeff. Sorry. All right, let me turn this down and turn this volume up for you all. All right, I'm gonna go back to Gimmick for Jeff, and then I'm gonna plug it into the tank, and then we'll open it up. So, so far, I don't have any complaints about this whatsoever. Can anybody think of anything? It's a good question, Tony. I think it's more square pixels. How do you get to the sound test menu, Jeff? Oh, wait. That's how. Okay. So, Strange Memories of Death. Nothing's happening. Oh, here we go. Sorry. So while I had my mic muted so that I could let you all listen to this, I turned the volume up, and wow, what a great song! And Bro3256 said it's not used at all in the actual game. That's insane! What a great song! They should have figured out a way to use it. So if this is all cool with you, I am going to then switch over to the Tink 4K. I will switch back soon-ish, or actually I'll switch back to the camera view, I mean, and we'll go from there. Now the micro SD slot on the side, 99% sure it's only for firmware updates, but we could definitely see. All right, so I'm going to set the resolution to 1080p. Yes, power the sucker back on. So let's, I have an idea here. Famous last words. Okay. Yeah, of course, Jeff. Let me know if you want anything else. So let's go into the Tink settings here and load from profile. Let's see what... let's use a RetroRGB AVS profile. go back to... Actually, I'm going to leave it at 4K because OBS seems to be doing a decent enough job with this. So we're going to go to Advanced Settings, Scaling and Cropping. I guess we could switch to proportional. So we can certainly adjust the aspect ratio this way. That's, here we go. Tink 4K, and just to be silly, let's go in Advanced Settings and set the color. To Japanese color. And then we'll go that's scan line. Sorry, that's not what I wanted at all. That's aspect ratio. This is pretty funny. So if you wanted something to use on your CRT, but you also wanted a crystal clear upscale through your Tink 4K, you could do it just like this. Famicom disk system compatibility. I don't have one to test, but I can't imagine it wouldn't because it's playing all of these things. Outer Space Base, yep. I accidentally just showed you, but I also showed again at the beginning of the video. Hey, what's up, Saxor? I do believe it's actually digital out, but we'll find out in a second when I pop this sucker open. Jeff, I don't know where this is going next, but maybe I could send it to you to play around with just to test. Fenris, I agree 100%. They said if they could play devil's advocate for a second, getting expansion audio right is like playing tug of war. Games made with earlier systems in mind, especially if that's what they were using for testing, don't balance the audio the same way as games developed later, where developers had newer consoles to test that handled the audio different. So absolutely. Prime 1, that's, yeah, I agree that the Tink 4K is awesome. The Tink 5X, so a lot of people that I know who are just retro enthusiasts bought a 4K and originally thought I'll sell the 5X on eBay until Marco Retro's amazing videos showing downscaling. Everybody I know who also likes CRTs repurposed their 5X to be a dedicated downscaler, which is really cool. I have not tried Micro Machines. Excellent idea. I'm going to leave it through the Tink 4K. Actually, no, let's go back to plugging it in direct because I don't want any of my silly and fun settings from the Tink to skew the results on this. I don't want somebody coming in and be like, you know, why the hell does it look like that when it's just me being silly with my settings here? So, let me unplug this. Let me get the cable back in. Should be back up in 10 seconds. Just so I don't forget, let me plug this cable back into that flat panel. All right. So yeah, aspect ratio. I will add that as a question. Square pixels, can it be 4:3? All right, I'm asking for a 4x3 option with interpolation so you don't get shimmering. And that's, we should also do a contra test for that exact reason, which we'll get to in a second. So Micro Machines was going to be the next test just to see if it glitched out. Now, I don't know what CPU is in this. We'll find out as soon as we open it up, so we'll definitely try Micro Machines. And then I also want to throw on Contra real quick, just because I think that's the easiest way to test for shimmer. I feel like I need an effects button where every time I say shimmer, I get Mark from My Life in Gaming to do it. Shimmering. I can't do it like him. Jimmy Hoppa does his voice perfectly. Like, we could probably prank call Corey with Jimmy as Mark. All right, so Micro Machines. It's not here. Is it? Does it say something else? Is it Europe or Japan only? Koi fish, it's about 300 bucks. Yeah, Zaxor, it's definitely not one of those crappy converters because we tested the lag and it's basically none. Oh, I've owned all of those. The FDS RAM adapters, original FDS, FDS key. They're all amazing. Yeah. Micro Machines was an unlicensed release. Okay, thank you. Okay, here we go. This feels like low-rent RC Pro-Am. Alright, Paperboy and Batman Return of the Joker. This seems to be working. I'm going to turn the game audio up a little bit more. Let me know if the levels are annoying now or anything. You know what? Koi fish, hold on one second. Let's, You know, it's funny. I was talking to Marco the other day, and apparently he was blocked on my YouTube channel. But I've always liked Marco. So he must have been one of the people that I accidentally blocked when the YouTube app on my phone got messed up. There you go. All right. So Paperboy and Batman. Uh-oh, did I hit the wrong button? Yeah, all right. Paperboy. I'm loving all the people calling out how they're using their repurposed tinks and stuff like that. That's cool. Uggs, I need a sound bar with a YouTuber saying, yeah, every time I do something stupid, you should hear, figure it out! God, every time I say that, I get hate mail, but you know what? Whatever. He's a treasure to the community, and you can't talk about him that way, and you're just jealous. Seems to be controlling fine. Yeah, I had the Game Boy version as well as a kid, I believe. I thought I just saw some vertical screen tearing. Did you all see that? That could very well have been because I'm using it at 720p signal and a 1080p OBS window. Alright, let's try Batman, and then I'll pop the sucker open. Oh, Mr. Mega Fan, the music was good? I gotta try it again after the stream's over. I couldn't hear any of the music. So, respectfully, for the people who are calling out games, are you calling out games because they're known to have issues, or do you just want to see how it looks through this? Yeah, you know, I'm going to do Zelda FDS. Batman seems to be working. By the way, that was me holding the reset button down. That's why you saw that stuff on the screen. I should always warn before I say that. Famicom disk system. Wasn't it a different name? Yeah, it's still Zelda, so whatever. Cool. Yay, that Famicom disk system. Take this or you're fucked. Prime, if your DVD player is outputting via HDMI, it could be HDCP protection, which Mike is legally bound to have added to that link. So you could just get one of those splitters that I've been recommending. All right, this one still works. So let me try one or two more games. I'm holding reset, by the way. I gotta keep saying that. Somebody's gonna screenshot that and be like, it crashed the game. So it was Super Spy Hunter and Immortal. All right, I'll grab that one too. You all are gonna have to tell me if this sounds right, because I have to have my audio muted, or else it'll just be weird, be a weird echo. But it's certainly playing correctly. cool. I'm holding reset now. Okay, good to remember. What was the other one there? Super spine. Abadox. Okay, let me try that one. I think we could call it after Contra then. I'll do Contra after this just to check for shimmering, but I think this thing's basically performing like an original, as it should, because it should have the original chips in it. Oh, here comes the that controller that Ivory sent me has turbo built in, so yeah, that's definitely coming in handy now. Yeah, this is working. Hey, sure, how's it going? All right, Contra just for shimmering tests. And also, hold on, let me read to you all the notes that I have for Ivory. First, can the settings be saved so it boots in the last selected aspect ratio and color palette? Can a third aspect ratio mode be added? Right now it's full screen and square pixels. An option for 4:3 aspect with interpolation would be perfect. Expansion audio volume is a bit too high with original carts, but fine with an EverDrive, so you don't need to fix that, but it'd be neat. Can people add their own color palettes in some way, maybe via the microSD card? And is the microSD slot only for firmware updates, or can anything else be done with it? All right, I'll try this one. A couple people have asked for this. I'll turn my mic down a hair. That should be a little bit better. Thank you for letting me know, though. It always drives me crazy when I listen back to the stream. I'm like, why didn't anybody tell me? All right, so Dizzy looks like it's not working properly, unless this is not going to work. That's an unlicensed game, right? It could be the version that I tried, or it could be the version of the PPU that's in here. So let's see. Turn the game volume down then. All right, so Dizzy is the only one that had issues so far, I think. Oh wait, no, it looks fine. The actual game looks fine with this version of the ROM. So it could just be a ROM version versus the PPU that that's installed in this one. All right, so Contra it is. Yeah, I think most of those notes that I put, like aspect ratio, persisting settings, I think those things are all easily updatable. I don't know about some of the other stuff, though, but we'll see. Certainly not adding color palettes. I think that would be way more challenging. All right. If we see shimmering, though, I'm also going to have to check via... No, actually, no. There's no shimmering. And there shouldn't be because there's square pixels here. All right. So let me... And in full screen mode, there should also be no shimmering. So one of the things, a lot of people have asked, why do people even include full screen modes? Is it really just for stupid people that don't know the difference, or Ian, historical nerd who likes it wide? But one of the reasons, legitimately, is that if you have a TV that sets aspect ratio, you could use the TV and very often get a no shimmer, better aspect ratio, just because you're setting it to full signal and letting the TV squish it back. My mic is still crunchy. Uh-oh. Let me, there's going to be an echo for a second here. Let me see. If you have a TV that sets aspect... Oh, crap. That, let me try fixing it. I'm going to have to go silent for a second. All right, is this better for audio? Wait, no, it's only out of one channel, but that does happen sometimes with my Motu. I have to unplug and plug it back in. All right, so let me switch over then. All right, we got this back, so let's, I should have moved the camera before I switched. Sorry, everybody, for the shaky cam. So let's take this sucker apart now. Set autofocus, okay. So as far as the controller goes, I really liked it. You know, I'd have to really sit and give it a try. Where am I? Yeah, I'd have to really sit and give it a try for long playing sessions to give you a full review of it, but it feels okay. What the hell, camera? Fancy ass camera can't autofocus? There we go. So I did like it. I liked the clear shell. Everything's cool there. I actually have the Retro Gamer Store and JT Studio made different braided versions of the controller cable. I actually have those here to test. I'll show those at the end of the stream because Ivory doesn't sell those, so I don't want to accidentally be disrespectful. Let's pull out my EverDrive. I'm going to power this thing up one more time though, just to see. Is there any, does anything happen? All right, so that's what happens when you power it up with no game in it. So it's not like there's a menu or anything like that. Is this better for volume then? Thanks, Uggs. Yeah. Yeah, so there's nothing happens when you boot it without a cartridge. So I doubt there could be anything done about, or anything added via microSD that way. Fenris, I'll add that as well. I think that's also great for people that have damaged units, which isn't a ton of people, but it absolutely has it. Hey, thanks for hanging out, Jeff. Let me know if you want to borrow any of this stuff. So, warm but not hot to the touch. Nothing on the bottom, nothing on this side. In the back are these ports. Come on, autofocus. Don't be a dick. There we go. So it's the Sega Saturn Mini DIN for RGB, S-Video, and Composite, I guess. Although I would just use these jacks for Composite and audio. HDMI and power. On the side, it's a micro SD slot for firmware updates, and I think that's all. And then a Famicom expansion port right here, which is handy. Glad they have it. And then two NES-style controller jacks in front, which I think is the exact way that they would want to do this. Let me break out my yeah, here we go. On the top, just like the other design, there's the flap, and then power and reset, and this eject button is just for show to match the original Famicom. So let me start taking the sucker apart. I got my random foam pad that somebody used as shipping material. And let me clean up some of this work area so I don't knock everything over, like I often do, grab some tools. Okay. Always such a pain trying to find whatever bit fits. Nope. All right, good enough. So if anybody remembers, or let me position this a little better. The last stream I did opening one of these up, I couldn't get it back together because there were components inside and it was kind of hard to line everything up. And so hopefully they took some of that feedback and made this thing easier to assemble and disassemble. Because that's not just for end user, that means whoever's manufacturing these things and assembling them is also going to have a hard time. And even if you get used to it after 2 or 3, it still means it's going to take longer than other options. Okay, so it's not budging, so I do need to get all of these out as well. And the screws are all the same size so far, which is nice. That's a pet peeve of mine. Okay, so those 6 screws are what I needed. So top piece, it just has the LED. So there must have been an LED on here and it's just really bright and I couldn't see it. And it was underneath this thing. So I'll check again when we put it all back together. And the 6 standoffs, so this is already easier to manufacture. It's got just the 2 red buttons that fell out. Springs on the buttons. I'll put those over here so I don't lose those. And then, all right, so we're already infinitely easier than last time to do this. And these last 2 screws are these standoffs here. Okay, so they improved the assembly of this tenfold at least. And it looks like they even glued the washers in place, which I'm not going to rip it off, but that just makes everything so much easier. Okay, so what we have is all right, I'm going to switch this into manual mode, and let's, not my hand, y'all don't need to see arm here, come on. Okay, so Fenris, are you still with me? You're going to know exactly which ones these are. So that is using original chips. Let me flip it around. Okay. And also here is, where's the FPGA circuit on this? So that's the FPGA they use. Trying to get it in focus here. It's about as good as it's going to get. So let me get a zoomed out or a different view here. Give me 1 second. Sorry, everybody. All right. So that's the full output circuit. I'll snap a couple of pictures with my phone in a second. Back. All right, set that back to auto. I'll uncheck the chat. Cool. All right, let me snap a couple of pictures of this. James, it should be. CPU and PPU clones should be compatible just the way they should be compatible in most original Famicoms. Let me grab this. All right, let me send myself these pictures and make sure they came out okay, and then I will bolt it all back together if anybody doesn't want anything else tested. I believe my pictures came out okay. Let me put one up. Leon, are you still here? Would you mind letting me know if you think this is okay? All right. So I don't see any amplifier chips over by the DIN, so I'm just going to assume that you can't use the composite video RCA jack and composite from the DIN at the same time, which is not, I can't imagine a use case in which you would want to. But you would be able to use composite and RGB at the same time as long as it's synced on C-Sync or Luma. Prime 1, yeah, that's a good point. Those Commodore monitors are so nice. They're such like that's one of the best ways I've ever experienced composite video, because just they look so good. Yeah, I think this is all we need as far as pictures go, and it looks good. All right, so I'm going to bolt this thing back together. I could try 1 or 2 more things if you'd like before I go, but I think other than the suggestions I have, nothing about this is a do not buy. There's, let me go back again and just go over the, let me just go over my notes here. So it would be nice if the settings persisted after powering off. So if you set your favorite color palette and your aspect ratio, that would be nice. That's not a deal breaker for me. It's just an annoyance that, you got to spend a couple seconds. Scanlines are fine. You're not going to get CRT emulation on this thing. You're not going to, you only really get true CRT emulation with original hardware with the Tink 5X and 4K anyway, so I wouldn't expect that another, yeah, with real hardware. With any kind of emulation, you can get it. Adding a 4:3 aspect ratio with interpolation would be really nice. However, if this was just something that you had to deal with on your TV, that's not the end of the world. So, and I don't know if the monitor I have has that option. We'll try that in a second. Expansion audio leveling with real carts versus an EverDrive. It would be cool to have options, but like Fenris was saying before, there's so many different model of original Famicoms where the audio is different. That's never going to be something that you get right. So if there was an option to press a button and switch the cart volume, it'd be cool, but that's not perfect. And then, can the system be sold with no PPU or CPU? I think I like that one. And then some unrealistic ones. Can people add their own color palettes? And is the micro SD slot available to be used for anything else? Leon, it's $300 and it's in stock right now. In stock as is, completed with everything that you need. And thanks for chiming in, Leon. Yeah, I hope your hand's starting to feel better. I saw your picture. I was like, ugh, gross. I hate when that happens. Composite RGB zapper support, it would have to be, yeah. I could try to do that last on the CRT before we go, but I can't imagine a scenario in which it wouldn't, because it's just all being processed through and it doesn't really have any latency. But that's a good one. I will, good call, Uggs. The last thing I'll do is test that. All right, so I'm going to reassemble this sucker. Then I'm going to try messing with the aspect ratio on this monitor. We can try a light gun real quick on my PVM up here, and we'll call it. All right, so I'm just placing. So once again, reassembly on this is just light years better than the other one. All of the standoffs are already glued into place. That's right here, so I'm going to just tighten these by hand. These plastic pieces wiggle in no problem whatsoever so far. Okay. Front controllers. I mean, you can't get any easier than that. Dropping the springs. Gonna plug, dumbass, my fault. Put the buttons inside. So this might be the only tricky part, is balancing the springs, the button, and everything all together. So as you saw, I had to use two hands to make sure everything wiggled into place, but let's see if the springs hit. There's nothing flopping around inside. There's tension on the buttons, so the springs are totally fine. I mean, this is a 10 out of 10 for reassembly. This is the other one that I had that I couldn't, I think it was Fenris's that I borrowed, if I'm remembering correctly, or it may have been another revision that they had sent, but I couldn't get it back together. There was just so many things falling apart, and it wasn't bad, it just was very clearly needed to be tweaked. Zero complaints on this, though. This is about as easy as it gets. All right, I am reassembled. Let me power this up. I'll check the chat in a second. Beautiful, Contra's still loaded. Let me put this tool away and check that. Grip on the carts is fine. No death grip, and it's not too loose either. Good question, though. Yep, Leon, only 720p for HDMI, which I think they did that due to the cost of the FPGA. I think they just wanted to keep it cheap and simple. So that kind of makes sense to me. Ultraspinal, I think the SMS wouldn't sell nearly as much as this one because you could just get a Genesis and a power-based converter, but I do think it would be very, very cool to have something similar where you could have toggleable FM sound and basically recreate the MK2000. All right. So let's watch me fumble through settings like an idiot here. Menu. Oh, it's right here. Cool. No, this does not have a 4x3 mode. Meaning my display doesn't have a 4x3 mode. I think. Transparency, menu rotation, button sound. Yeah, no. So it would just have to be there. So all right, let me power this up. Let me grab my RGB cable and my zapper, and if everything works, we'll call it a day. If it doesn't work, we'll test more to see if it was something I did. Oh, you know what? This is going to be interesting. The only RGB cable I have syncs on Luma for Saturn. Which, by the way, I made a mistake when talking about the Retro Castle cases. They all sync on Luma and Composite video. You just got to flip one of the dip switches. It's like a 2-second thing. I do think that the Saturn DIN is upside down in this, though, which is not a problem in my opinion. It's just definitely something you're going to want to note. Go right in here. It's working on my CRT, but not well. Which means I must have something swapped here. Huh. Let me double check that I'm not screwing this up. Oh, yeah, loose cable. Haha, loose cable. Spoke too soon. All right, let's get this aimed up over here so I could zoom in for you real quick to, come on, manual focus. So looks perfect RGB on the PVM. So let me load up Duck Hunt and grab a zapper, and then we should be done. Any other questions, please fire away now. I'll check the chat as soon as we're done with the zapper. Oh shit, I gotta go dig out my zapper. But yeah, so basically once we confirm light guns work, so there's 0 latency through the analog port, then I think I'm gonna call it. All right, the one that I have handy is a third-party one, so if it doesn't work right away, you know, don't count it out. I'll try it. I'll dig up another one if that's the case. Duck Hunt. All right. All right. So once again, this is a third party, and it's not working at all. It should not be in the first player. All right. So this is a third party one. Let me find my original. And that was a great one to check, because it could be that they forgot to add the extra pin on the controller port. Oh, wait. My real one's right here. Okay. No. Nothing. Okay, so that's the only problem, the only actual problem with this so far. Let me try a different way of doing this. Will an NES to Famicom adapter work on this? There is absolutely no reason why it wouldn't. I just don't have one to test. So we're loading up Mario Duck Hunt. So correct me if I'm wrong, but there's an extra pin going to the player 2 controller port for the zapper. So obviously the game is still working, because otherwise Super Mario wouldn't be working at all. Nothing. And I use the controller to hit start, by the way, not the zapper. So let me just... No, the screen isn't even flashing. So that's the only problem I've found so far. Frank, did I hot swap? Zapper's supposed to be port 2 always. I'll try it right now, but it's supposed to be port 2. Yeah, no. So that's the only actual problem with it. I would be willing to bet if I popped that motherboard open again, I could probably solder a connection to re-enable it. But I'm going to report this back to the team first and let them tell me what they want to do or they suggest. Because the last thing I need is to solder something to prove a point and break something that's not mine. That's not how I roll. So let me go back through the chat. What's up, FBX? How you doing? Yep, Leon, that's essentially it. It does what the NES RGB does, but added HDMI output to it. Feel on the controller port's totally fine. Not too snug, but not loose. But you know what? Since you're mentioning that, let me go back and try Mario Brothers and see if I can get it to fail. So just hit start. I got the turbo button so I could jump. I am holding the turbo button so you could see Mario jumping on screen. I know it's a little bit too bright, but I'm wiggling the controller port and it is not affecting that at all. And it's snug. It's definitely snug, but it's not a death grip. So it's definitely a two-hand thing, but that's what you want because you don't want your controllers popping out. Great question, though. Papa Rick, yes, you could use the Famicom port for light guns, but I don't have that adapter anymore. I sold that, and it should be wired into this one. Already tried it on CRTs with S-Video, just tried Composite, and I tried S-Video, Composite, and RGB. Composite looks like every mediocre Famicom, which is not a compliment or an insult. It is what it is. S-Video looked beautiful, and RGB obviously looks great. And the larger CRT, I already tried the... well, if you're talking larger CRT, Neil, about Duck Hunt, it doesn't even flash the screen when I pulled the trigger, which means the port's not connected. Okay. Hey, what's up, Monty? Ops, that's a controller that Ivory sent me. I think they're going to be selling. Uggs, so if you're talking about original Famicoms, you could either get a Famicom gun for Famicom games, or you could play NES games with an NES gun and a special adapter that plugs into the expansion port and breaks it out. And the adapter just has to be wired properly because you need that extra pin in order to trigger that. Here's that controller, by the way. And I said I would show this at the end. This is not being sold at Retro Castle. This has nothing to do with what I'm showing here. This is from J&T Studio. But this is the other thing that I've yet to write a post on because I want to show some really cool pictures. But it is relevant for anybody who's making their own NES anything, basically. So what if you have an original NES controller and your controller cable is frayed or broken or whatever else? Now there's a very nice braided cable. Let me manual focus here. See, nice and braided that you could just wire directly in. So this is not being sold by the same people. This is totally different. This is from J&T Studio. But since we're talking about NES Famicom, if anybody was wondering, these are really nice and really high quality. Now, it's not to say that the one that comes in all of these are crap quality. I'm just saying if you have a controller, an NES controller, that the cable's frayed or broken or old or nasty, this one looks great. I'll do a post on that at some point. I've been putting off the post because I also wanted to show how to, show components if you wanted to just build your own NES controller from scratch, so that way you could completely customize it. Because there's different shells. Rourke made some amazing shells. There's some 3D prints that are available if you want to have them done through like PCBWay or something like that. So I have to get these out. J&T Studio sent these to me so that I could send them out to other people who would be able to review them and try them out. So I'll get to that soon. Can you output all 3 video options at the same time? Yes. So yes, but. So you could output Composite, HDMI, RGB, Composite, and S-Video all at the same time. Wait, no, hold on. Let me power this off. Wait, let me show you. Cartridge slot, not a death grip, and not too loose. It's just perfect. I don't think there was a big issue with Famicom death grips, though. I think that was more of the NES. So, because of the ports in back here, come on, autofocus. There we go. So you could have HDMI, Composite, and either S-Video or RGB all at the same time. So you could have 3 simultaneous outputs if you wanted. You can't have 2 composites at the same time because it's not buffered. And you really shouldn't use sync-on composite RGB cables while using this composite video jack. But if you're using a sync-on Luma or sync-on C-Sync cable, then you could have composite, RGB, and HDMI at the same time. But HDMI and 1 analog signal, absolutely, totally safe to have simultaneous. They're totally discrete. Let me check these out. Andrew, yes, if you look at that website and you click on it, they're available in blue and red. I used blue as the thumbnail for this because I just didn't want it to be confused with the model that I reviewed a while back. So yeah, it's but that's the same thing. You get to choose which you would prefer. Do these controller cables work with an original model Famicom? I believe they do, because I believe it's the same pins. That's a great question. You would have to cut the end off of it, though, and wire both sides. Ah, Real OC Gamer needs more RF. Thank you. All right, I think we're good. I'm calling this one a win other than the zapper support, so that's the one thing I will mention right away. And I will put that in the post, which is going to be live in like 5 minutes. So other than currently the zapper support being broke, which should be, you should be able to pop this out and then solder like 1 or 2 connections from the bottom of this to some other place on the board. It should be fixable for people who have already purchased it, and I could certainly ask for them. Oh shit! Ha! Sorry, camera, wrong button for the camera. I could certainly ask for them to add it for production for the next version, but that's basically it. Did the Famicom Port 1 have an additional wire for the microphone? I don't have absolutely any way to test that, but I will add that to the list of things to ask. Well, actually, hold on. How would that happen? Because the microphone was built into port 2 in the original Famicom where everything was wired up. So how would that be implemented in this? And I'm not like being a douchey sarcasm right now. I'm actually asking you, like, how would that work? Yeah, thanks for helping out, Uggs, and hanging out. I appreciate it. I'm just going to put this stuff back together while I'm just waiting for those last few little questions. Oh yeah, that one went into here. Did that go here? Did that go? All right. Just a general question. Okay, so I think the answer is that on the original Famicom, the mic was built into controller 2, and I don't know if there was ever an external microphone attachment. And I think that means if you're playing original Zelda with an AV Famicom, then I don't even know if that would work, because I don't know if they ever sold a Famicom controller with a microphone in it. But I'm not, it's been a long time since I did a deep research thing on that, so I might be wrong. But while the zapper I would call a mistake, I don't think they would, if I were designing this, I wouldn't address that at all. I guess that's the best way I could put it. Let me get this nice. Controller's really great though, I did like that very much. The turbo support was a fun touch to it. This way. Okay. I am about to close up shop here. I think this was an awesome stream. I just want to give everybody a second in case there are any more questions. Plus, I'm not going to lie, it's way more fun to clean up hanging out with you all on stream than to stop the stream and then just sit here in silence and clean up. Papa Rick, I think there was one more game that used the mic, but I think it was one of those scenarios where it was more novelty than anything else. So like if you use it, you'd have been like, oh, that was neat. But like, it's not like something that you'd have been like, oh man, I haven't lived until I've played this game with audio support in it. All right, well, I guess that's everything. Thank you all very much. I'll get this post up on the website in the next couple of minutes. And yeah, this is pretty cool. So thank you all very much, and we will